You are not alone, not because of proximity or family or friendship, but because you were born as a part, not a whole. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. We do not serve others despite our nature. We serve them because of it. The view from the mountain is clear. Humanity swarms below like ants, each person locked in their own private struggle, believing themselves to be separate islands of consciousness. Yet Marcus Aurelius saw a different reality, one where the divisions between us are illusory and fleeting. We are made for cooperation, he writes in Book 2 of his Meditations. Like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. Consider how strange it would be for the hand to refuse to aid the foot, or the eye to deny the ear. Would you find it reasonable for your left arm to declare independence from your right? Of course not. Yet daily we live as if we are separate from those around us, forgetting that we are members of a single body, the human community. To the Stoic mind, this view is not merely poetic or aspirational. It is rooted in a profound understanding of human nature. Our reason, which the Stoics saw as our defining feature, is shared. As Marcus writes in Book 4, if our intellectual part is common, the reason also, in respect of which we are rational beings, is common. If this is so, common also is the reason which commands us what to do and what not to do. If this is so, there is a common law also. If this is so, we are fellow citizens. If this is so, we are members of some political community. For the emperor, our shared rationality reveals a profound truth. We are citizens of the same great city, bound by the same universal law. The Stoic is not a loner. He is a member of the great cosmic city. But what does it mean to be a good citizen of this universal community? Marcus offers us guidance. Every act of yours, which is not directed towards social merit, or at least is not indirectly so, tears asunder your life and does not allow it to be one, and is in a way a mutiny. Our nature calls us to cooperation, not conflict. The wise person recognizes that living according to nature means aligning with this social calling. When we serve others, we are not performing charity or sacrifice. We are simply acting in accordance with who we truly are. As Marcus reminds us, what brings no harm to the state brings none to the citizen either. Many hear the word duty and imagine a burden, something external imposed upon us against our will. But to the Stoic, duty springs from within. It is not obligation that compels us, but alignment with our deepest nature. Do what is necessary, Marcus counsels in Book 8. Let nothing distract you. Duty, in the Stoic sense, is not about what you owe to others. It is about what you owe to your own nature. When we fulfill our duty, we experience the quiet satisfaction of living in harmony with ourselves. Consider how Marcus describes this harmony. In the morning when thou risest unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being. Why then am I dissatisfied if I am going to do the things for which I exist and for which I was brought into the world? He continues this thought with a pointed question. Dost thou exist then to take thy pleasure, and not at all for action or exertion? These words cut through our modern discomfort with the concept of duty. We often seek to escape necessary tasks, believing our happiness lies in freedom from responsibility. But Marcus understood that fulfilling our natural function brings its own sublime satisfaction. Look at the plants, the birds, the ants, the spiders, the bees, he writes. all working together to put in order their separate parts of the universe. And art thou unwilling to do the work of a human being? And dost thou not make haste to do that which is according to thy nature? The emperor reminds us that duty is not the opposite of freedom. It is the path to our truest freedom. When we shirk duty, we wage war against our own nature, creating inner discord. But when we embrace duty, we find a profound inner harmony. Let it make no difference to thee whether thou art cold or warm, he counsels, if thou art doing thy duty, and whether thou art drowsy or satisfied with sleep. For it is one of the acts of life, this act by which we die. It is sufficient then in this act also to do well what we have in hand. This reveals the Stoics' secret. Duty performed with full presence transforms even the most mundane task into an act of deep significance. The Stoic understanding of duty asks us to see every action, from the most elevated to the most humble, as worthy of our complete attention. In our world, we often imagine that committing injustice is advantageous to ourselves. If we can gain at another's expense without consequence, many would consider this winning. But Marcus Aurelius offers a profound counterpoint to this view. To do wrong is to do yourself wrong, he asserts in Book 9. This idea stands at the heart of Stoic ethics. When you act unjustly, you may harm others temporarily, but you harm yourself essentially. You corrupt your own character, making yourself worse than you were before. Marcus elaborates, he who does wrong against himself. He who acts unjustly to himself, because he makes himself bad. The harm we do others affects their circumstances, but the harm we do ourselves affects our very being. Think of the person consumed by hatred, greed, or the desire for revenge. These passions do not harm their targets nearly as much as they poison the one who harbors them. The emperor understood this principle clearly. If thou art pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs thee, but thy own judgment about it. And it is in thy power to wipe out this judgment now. This reveals another dimension of Stoic thought. Not only does injustice harm the doer, but even when we are the recipients of injustice, our suffering comes more from our judgment about what has happened than from the event itself. When thou art offended at any man's fault, Marcus advises, turn to thyself and reflect in what like manner thou dost err thyself. This perspective transforms how we respond to perceived injustice. Rather than seeking revenge, the Stoic looks within, examining what the situation reveals about their own character and judgment. To choose kindness is not weakness, it is wisdom. For when we act with justice even toward those who wrong us, we preserve our own character regardless of how others behave. As Marcus counsels, the best revenge is to not be like your enemy. For the Stoic, forgiveness is not a lofty ideal but a practical necessity. Marcus Aurelius, who faced betrayal from generals, disappointment from family, and opposition from senators, understood this deeply. People exist for one another, he reminds us in Book 8. Teach them or bear with them. This simple statement encapsulates the Stoic approach to human relationships. When someone acts poorly, we have two options: help them improve if possible, or patiently bear with their limitations if not. Marcus elaborates on this approach when he writes, begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil. Note how he frames others' wrongdoing, not as malice, but as ignorance. This perspective makes forgiveness possible, even natural. For how can we remain angry at someone who simply doesn't know better? Remember, he continues, that when they seem to hurt or disturb you, it is your belief that does the harm. This reveals the practical heart of Stoic forgiveness. We forgive not merely to benefit others, but to free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. When we hold on to grievances, we allow others' mistakes to harm us twice, first in the original act, and then continuously in our embittered response. Marcus knew that human nature is fallible. Be not disturbed, for all things are according to the nature of the universal, and in a little time thou wilt be nobody and nowhere. This recognition of our shared mortality puts our grievances in perspective. In the cosmic scale, our conflicts are momentary. Why waste our brief existence nurturing resentments? The Emperor offers practical advice. When somebody wrongs you, ask yourself, what mistaken judgment caused them to wrong me? Once you see that, you'll feel compassion instead of anger. Stoicism does not excuse cruelty. It transcends it through calm understanding. For Marcus, forgiveness is not weakness, but wisdom. It acknowledges human fallibility without sacrificing our own principles. The best way of avenging thyself, he counsels, is not to become like the wrongdoer. For Marcus Aurelius, our shared humanity transcends all divisions of nationality, social status, or belief. Despite being emperor of Rome, he saw himself first as a citizen of something greater. Constantly think of the universe as one living being, he writes in Book 4, with a single substance and a single soul. This cosmic perspective radically transforms how we view human relationships. If we are all parts of the same whole, then the divisions we create between ourselves are artificial. Race, nationality, political party, religion, these categories, while meaningful in their contexts, do not negate our more fundamental unity. My city and country, so far as I am Antoninus, Marcus reflects, is Rome, but so far as I am a man, it is the world. The emperor understood that our local identities exist within our universal identity. We can honor our particular communities while recognizing our membership in the universal human family. This perspective naturally leads to an ethic of compassion that extends to all, even those we might consider enemies. Men exist for the sake of one another, he writes. Teach them then, or bear with them. And elsewhere, it is peculiar to man to love even those who do wrong. And this happens if when they do wrong, it occurs to thee that they are kinsmen, and that they do wrong through ignorance and unintentionally. True service in the Stoic view includes those we dislike, disagree with, and don't understand. For if we serve only those who please us, we are not serving humanity, but our own preferences. Marcus reminds us that this universal brotherhood is not just noble in theory, but practical in application. That which is not good for the swarm, neither is it good for the bee. Our well-being is inseparable from the well-being of the whole. When we harm others, we harm ourselves. When we serve others, we serve ourselves. This is not clever accounting, but the inescapable reality of our interconnected existence. The emperor's vision culminates in a striking image. We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. This is the Stoic vision of universal brotherhood, not a sentimental ideal, but a clear-eyed recognition of our interdependence. We are organs of the same body, citizens of the same cosmic city, expressions of the same universal reason. How might we apply these timeless principles to our modern lives? Marcus Aurelius offers guidance not just in theory but in practice. Begin each morning with this simple question: whom will I serve today, and how? This question orients us towards service from the moment we awake. It reminds us that our day is not merely our own, but belongs to the larger whole of which we are a part. In the evening, reflect. Did I act as a part of the whole or as a splinter? This daily examination helps us track whether we're living in accordance with our social nature. Did we contribute to the common good, or did we live as if disconnected from others? Practice voluntary cooperation in small matters. Hold a door. Listen longer than feels comfortable. Pause before criticism. These small acts of service train us in the Stoic virtue of considering others. Study Marcus's line: he who does wrong to himself. He who acts unjustly to himself, because he makes himself bad. This reflection transforms how we respond to mistreatment. When someone wrongs us, we can recognize that they harm themselves more fundamentally than they harm us. This understanding doesn't excuse injustice, but it helps us respond with wisdom rather than reactive anger. Consciously extend your circle of concern. Marcus advises us to move from caring about ourselves to our family, to our community, to all humanity. Each day, practice seeing someone outside your usual circle as a fellow citizen of the cosmic city. When faced with frustration toward others, remember Marcus's words: every soul is deprived of truth unwillingly. People don't err because they want to, but because they don't see clearly. This insight breeds compassion rather than contempt. Finally, practice seeing yourself as a part, not a whole. Ask regularly, what does the universal community need from me now? This question shifts our perspective from self-interest to service. The Stoic path is not easy. It demands that we subordinate our ego to the greater good, that we forgive when we want to condemn, that we serve when we want to be served. But in return, it offers something precious: harmony with our deepest nature. As Marcus reminds us, that which is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. We've explored what it means to live not as a lone soul, but as a thread in the great tapestry of humanity. But what happens when the world falls into chaos? How does the Stoic respond to fear, instability, and social breakdown? In the next video, we explore fear, panic, and the Stoic response to chaos.